All right. Okay. So, good morning, everybody. I think we're live. Yes, we are. All right, good. Get that set up. Back up the camera a little. Cool. Okay, so today the conversation is going to bring a little heat. And the center stage is the person who says they're going to do a lot and they never really do it. So we're going to have some not nuclear kinds of questions, but we're going to have some questions that's going to bring the heat today. This isn't about laziness. It's about ego protection. They're wanting to protect their ego. They're wanting to protect their identity, right? It's what happens when somebody wants the image of transformation without the death of old self, right? The tension, it's combustible, which makes it for an almost nuclear conversation that you have with somebody. So we're going to lean into it. And today's conversation is the performance of growth, why some people talk big and never change. Have you ever noticed there's that person, they're sitting in the front row, they're doing the most head nods, they quote the most books, they talk the loudest, post the insights, act like the most awake person in the room, always center stage, always talking about growth. And yet, 6 months later, same life, same habits, same excuses, same results, nothing changes. And you think, how could somebody who knows so much, talks so much, still never move? Here's the uncomfortable truth, because it might hit close to home. Some people don't want transformation. They want appreciation. They want the appearance of transformation. They don't want change. They want significance. And change and significance are not the same thing. So in today's session of awareness, and today's session of awesomeness is going to maybe sting a little for some folks, because we're talking about tactics. We're talking about ego, talking about identity, about the strange human tendency to perform self-improvement instead of actually doing it, the tendency to perform it rather than actually doing it. So if you coach people, lead people, teach people, sell, or build anything, you might need to understand this. It may be of value to understand this, because otherwise you'll keep thinking they're committed, when really they're just addicted to the spotlight. So let's dismantle this. Let's take this apart. There's a psychological trap that happens in personal development. Learning feels like progress. Talking feels like progress. Planning feels like progress. Posting about it feels like progress. Yet none of those are. Not one of those are things that move you forward. They're emotional substitutes, cheap dopamine hits that trick your brain into feeling accomplished, like you've done something without doing anything. It's like watching a workout video and expecting to get fit. Feels productive, zero adaptation. You're not putting anything into your body. Because real change, this should go on a t-shirt. Real change is humiliating. It's quiet, it's unsexy, it's repetitive, it's boring, it's invisible, no applause, no audience, you alone, just doing the reps. And the ego despises that. Here's the part most people don't say out loud. For some people, being the person who talks about growth becomes their identity. Not actually growing, talking about it. Big difference. I think you could agree, because talking is safe. Implementation is risky. Talking costs nothing. Action risks failure. Talking keeps status, who you are. Action might expose your incompetence. So unconsciously, the psyche chooses performance, because performance protects self-image. This is the straight shadow psychology. Carl Jung would say, the ego will do anything to avoid confronting its own inadequacy, including pretending it has already evolved. So instead of doing the work, we signal. We put off this vibe, we signal intelligence, we signal awareness, we signal depth, we signal, I get it. Yet signaling is not transformation. It's theater. And theater is safe. Growth is not. So let me be blunt. Now you're going to be blunt. Some people don't want change. They want to be seen as the kind of person who changes. They want admiration without sacrifice, respect without risk, results without discomfort, which is impossible. Yet the mind is clever. It finds loopholes. I'll read another book. I'll attend another seminar. I'll talk about mindset. I'll analyze more. All are delay tactics. Beamish, what are you doing? You knocked my curtain down, buddy. You can't be messing with my backdrop. They avoid things. They delay tactics. All avoidance dressed up as sophistication. Knowledge becomes procrastination. Insight becomes insulation. They hide inside this understanding that they have, because understanding feels safer than doing. We're going to get to the questions. Hang on. We're going to get to the questions you can use to ask some folks to kind of blow up this delay of this practice of delay. Here's the brutal paradox. The louder somebody talks about growth, sometimes the more afraid they are to actually grow. Because if they really tried, they might fail. And failure would crack the identity. So staying theoretical protects the ego. No risk, no exposure, no proof. They're not special. So they stay the big shot, the commenter, the explainer. They can tell you exactly how things are supposed to do. The intellectual, they can tell you all of the insights and all of the particulars. Anything but the beginner. Because the beginner looks foolish. And the ego would rather stagnate than look foolish. So I'm going to say something that might feel nuclear, that might feel explosive. If somebody has consumed years of contents, attended everything, talked effortlessly, and still hasn't changed their behavior, that's not lack of information. That's avoidance. And at some point, learning becomes hiding. And that's when personal development turns into self-deception. So instead of teaching more, I want to ask some sharper questions, because questions cut through the performance. And if any of these hit, good. Truth usually does. So here's the 10 questions for the big talk, no action trap. Number 1, am I actually improving or just becoming more articulate about my problems? Being able to explain your issue isn't the same as fixing it. Am I actually improving, or am I becoming more articulate about my problems? Where am I masking learning for doing? Number 2, where am I masking learning for doing? Books don't change lives. Repetition does. Reps do. Doing the actual work does. Talking about lifting 50 pounds, but I can bench press 250. I can't. But talking about it versus doing the reps, somebody might believe I could do 250, might. If they've never done 250, they go, I don't think you could, right? So where am I masking learning for doing? Do I secretly, number 3, do I secretly enjoy looking aware? Like you're in tune, in touch. Do I enjoy that more than being accountable? Awareness is sexy. Accountability is humbling. Which one are you choosing? Number 4, what would I have to risk socially if I stopped talking and actually executed? Because execution might expose you as average. And that hits the ego. The ego doesn't want to feel average. Hey, if nobody, question 5, if nobody knew what I was working on, would I still do it? Or do you need an audience? Because needing witnesses is performance. That's not growth. Where am I hiding behind preparation? You know, that person who says, I'm getting there. I got one more thing to do and I'm ready to go. Ready, I'm planning, I'm researching, I'm optimizing, I'm getting it tuned up, I'm tweaking it. All respectable words for delay. Number 7, what result have I been working towards? What result have I been working toward for years that could have been achieved in 90 days with some consistency? Oh, this one kind of hurts because it exposes the lie. And listen, these are for me, right? The best person you can help is the person you just were. These are for me. This is, there's some things in my life that this question, what have I been working towards? That 90 days of consistency? Yeah, ouch. You don't come here for milquetoast kind of conversations. You want some personal undevelopment. That was question 7. Here's number 8. Do I want transformation or admiration? Do I want people to like me, or am I willing to leave my old self behind? These are different motivations, and they produce very different behaviors, whether you want transformation or admiration. Number 9, what identity would die if I actually succeeded? What part of me, what story about me would disappear if I succeeded? Would the label of the underdog go away? The thinker go away? The potential person? You're the person who talks about potential and opportunity and possibility and creativity. Would that person go away? Would that conversation be over? And number 10, if I stopped talking about growth today, what uncomfortable action would prove I'm serious. Not planning, not posting, not a podcast, an action today. That was 10. Here's the truth. Growth is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. Growth doesn't perform. Growth does not need to be center stage. It just works day after day, repetition after repetition, set after set, until one day the results speak so loudly, you don't have to. So if you ever catch yourself being the loudest person in the room, you might want to ask, am I signaling or am I building? Because signaling feels important. Building creates change. And only one of those actually moves your life forward. So today, maybe, possibly, put this in your pipe and see what comes out. Maybe today, less talking, less consuming, less explaining, and doing more of the action, more reps, more silence, more proof. Because awesome isn't performed. Awesomeness isn't performed. It's earned quietly. That's your conversation for today. I love you tons, YouTube. I'm Sean Murphy, your nuclear question misfit. I'll see y'all where? I'll see you back here next week. Till then, thanks and bye for now.